All throughout Elden Ring, we are haunted by the Phantom of Miquella. His allure, his promises, his loving and devoted followers, and his desire to embrace all things. But we also learn that he is fearsome, able to compel, not inspire, but compel affection. And so, when we got our first look at the DLC trailer, only to hear the now famous line, "Pure and radiant, he wields love to shrive clean the hearts of men," there is nothing more terrifying. We began to suspect that this ever-young demigod may not be as wonderful as he seemed. This is a video about the terror and tyranny of Miquella's love, and what it teaches us about the difference between love and compassion. We learn in the base game that Miquella is, at least initially, motivated by the desire to heal his sister Malenia's rot. Having delved into the power of Golden Order fundamentalism, he abandons it, as it would do nothing to heal him or his sister. And so Miquella turns his attention to becoming a god. Surely then he would be able to set things right. We don't know how or when young Miquella charmed Mohg, but charm him he did, compelling Mohg to abscond with Miquella and bring him to Mohgwyn Palace, where, by means we don't fully understand, Miquella entered the Shadow Realm. And in the realm of shadow, he shed every aspect of his being, stepping through the gate of divinity as a spiritual and physical husk of his former self. After emerging through the gate as a god, Miquella proclaims that he will bring forth a 1,000-year voyage guided by compassion. But I don't think that Miquella ever possessed compassion. Love, yes, but not compassion. You see, there is a difference between compassion and love. Compassion is the ability to see and care about others as whole beings, as more than just extensions of our own needs and desires. A young baby can love you completely, but it is not yet capable of compassion because it hasn't matured enough to understand that you are your own person. It loves you for what you can provide. Miquella is much the same. His curse was not just an eternally young body, but also an eternally young soul. And while it may seem that he has compassion for Malenia, given his attempts to cure her, let's think about that for a moment. Miquella needs Malenia, as he is unable to physically enforce his own will or protect himself due to his eternal youth. He needs his sister physically, in the same way that a baby needs a mother. It is in Miquella's best interest to keep his sister alive and well so that she may protect him, and, as we see in the opening cutscene in Caelid, enact his master plan. We can start to understand how Miquella really feels about his sister if we look at how the two of them talk about one another. After her defeat at the base of the JHaligtree, Malenia laments, "Oh dear Miquella, oh dearest Miquella, my brother, I'm sorry." She loves him, is loyal to him, and feels regret for having failed him. Now let's compare that to the only instance where Miquella talks about Malenia. "My loyal blade." That's it. He doesn't call her dear or beloved or even sister. He simply refers to her as his loyal blade. He is indifferent to the cost she had to pay to subdue Radahn. We now know from Freya's dialogue in the DLC that Miquella was at the Battle of Caelid because he helped heal Freya's rot there. Yet it was the clean rot knight Finlay who carried Malenia back to the JHaligtree. Miquella left Malenia in Caelid, as she could no longer physically serve him, and he likely did not have the strength to return her himself. This may sound evil, but if we recognize that Miquella's understanding of love is as advanced as an infant, it's not evil, just sad. A baby isn't evil for not helping its injured mother. It's just a baby. This idea is reinforced by Ansbach's dialogue in the Specimen Storehouse. When he realizes that Miquella plans to use Mohg's remains as a vessel for Radahn's soul, he says, "I'm afraid tender Miquella fails to grasp the humiliation implied by this act." And this is why Miquella is so terrifying. He doesn't have the capacity to understand that what he does is wrong. Imagine a baby with its inability to emotionally understand other people, having the intelligence of a genius and the power of a god. What could we expect from such a being? I would expect that he would go after what he wanted with no regard for others, that he would be too emotionally immature to have a sense of morality, and that he would assume anyone who stood in his way was simply a bad object. In short, he would stop at nothing to get what he wanted. This is the true nature of Miquella's curse. With his inability to see other people as their own beings, he could never make a just or even effective ruler. His would be a reign of terror, and Miquella himself would not even be able to recognize it for what it was. Miquella's story is a fable, a warning of what happens when we love without compassion. The DLC reveals not only the true nature of Miquella's curse, but also the true nature of Miquella's power. Miquella obtains affection and loyalty through some sort of spiritual force. This is why the Bewitching Branch item description states that he compels affection. Compel means force. Compulsory means required, as in you do not have a choice. Miquella thinks that love is compliance. Love, in his eyes, is unwavering acquiescence to his will. This is brought home powerfully in the item description for the Light of Miquella incantation. Miquella sought to accept all that was and would be, but found one that refused to be embraced. No wonder, as one god and one king consort is all the world needs. Miquella doesn't make requests. Like a baby, he makes demands. Miquella doesn't ask Radahn to be his consort. He commands him to make the promise. He doesn't ask us if we want to join him or challenge him. He demands that we step aside. He doesn't ask Mohg to help him access the Shadow Realm. He puts a charm on Mohg and forces him to do his bidding. In Miquella's eyes, other people only exist to meet his needs. In the memory cutscene, Miquella seems frightened and helpless, and he leverages that vulnerability to compel Radahn to be his consort. But we know that Miquella is far from helpless. His ever-young body, his stunted compassion, his compelling vulnerability. This is the unholy trinity of Miquella's curse. Love is only valuable to Miquella when it can get him what he wants. When it becomes an obstacle to what he wants, he abandons it with ease. Before he abandoned Saint Trina, I think Miquella could love, but his was a love devoid of truth, compassion, and consent. I've seen videos referring to Miquella as insane, psychopathic, and malicious. But I don't think Miquella is deliberately or maliciously manipulative. I think he is a child, wielding the love, naivete, and perceived vulnerability of an infant. Saint Trina calls him a poor thing and asks us to grant him forgiveness, implying that, on some level, he's not responsible for the impacts of his behavior because he simply cannot comprehend how what he does affects others. And so Saint Trina begs us to kill him because she understands how horrifying his godhood would be. Miquella may be the most tragic and disturbing boss in the game because we are, on some level, killing the soul of a child who cannot understand why we would do such a thing. But if we do not, abject horror will inevitably ensue. His story arc is one of the darkest in this very dark game, and because of that, I think Miquella is, ironically, the most compelling demigod of all. I guess that means, in a way, that he charmed me too.